What's good, YouTube? Fairdo Kings coming back at you again. Tonight we're going to be live streaming and discussing the top 100 players on EA Sports College Football 25. Now, this roster release and reveal was yesterday. I think a lot of people are probably disappointed. They expected it was going to be a full roster reveal. You can go check out your database and look at your favorite team, see what your favorite players are rated. But that's not what it was. They gave us a little something. They could have named it better, coined it better, and called it a top 100 rating release. But they didn't, which, was a little bit of a clickbait. It brought in a large audience who was expecting something different. They gave us something. I mean, it's good that we're getting information. We went a couple weeks and we didn't hear anything from EA. So many people were in the dark, myself included, with a small exception. Which I'm still not obligated to talk about under embargo, but it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, we're getting information. It's good. Today we got some more information. Not the expert. Drew was able to release a dynasty video talking about his Kennesaw State dynasty, and Good Game Bro, he released some information today, which was on point. It was showing a lot of the stadiums and mascots and team entrances and some of the celebrations. So it was nice to at least see some of that gameplay released. And it's an exciting time right now. We're less than 4 days away from release. This Saturday, you should be able to, if you have the game pre-ordered, you have the 3-day early access, you should be able to download the game. And even though the official release date is listed as next Friday, July 19th, and they have announced over and over again the game's going to release on July 16th, to be honest with you, you're going to be able to download a game and begin playing as early as next Monday, July 15th at 4 p.m. And the reason for that, and I kind of alluded to this in May, I kind of announced it, let everyone know, because what EA didn't want to do is everyone jump on the servers at midnight, and then next thing you know, the servers crash. And it's happened in the past. So EA has gotten wiser over the years, and they've decided they're going to roll out the game a lot slower than what they have in the past. They don't want everyone jumping on at one time and overloading the servers. So what they have done is they've been a little bit more methodical in how they release games, and it's a good thing. You don't want your base angry and mad when they're sitting there, looking at a black screen and never able to log in. So we're going to start to see some people having access to this game as early as Monday at 4 p.m. I'm still currently in a search to find an early copy of the game. I've got some contacts throughout the country who I've been talking with. There's an employee at a retail store in Dallas that's willing to part ways with the game early for $400. I'm looking into that. I've got a contact in Idaho that knows a location that is maybe going to part ways with 3 or 4 games early. So I'm still looking into maybe getting a copy there. I'm going door to door at a lot of our local retail stores and some of the mom and pop shops in Kentucky. I've got some contacts in Ohio that know of some spots. So, the search is still on. I might be jumping in the car tomorrow night, driving somewhere. I've got a guy in PA who I've been dealing with for years, been in his leagues for several years, big name, who's traveling. He's on his way to Philly for some concerts this weekend, but he's going to stop at some locations along the way. And if he can track down and find a mom and pop shop that'll, sell it, I could have the game by Saturday morning, maybe even tomorrow night. So I'm gonna keep using my network to see what I can do to get access to this game early. And if I do, I'll be live streaming this weekend. If I do get access, Dynasty, I'll go in and I'll check out player ratings. I'll play a lot of head-to-head matchups. Probably I've got my 24-year-old son who plays Madden and MCS. We'll probably get on here together and play some head-to-head games. Kind of get him going. But we'll go from there. So, at worst case, I'll have the game on Monday at 4 p.m. like everyone else. And to be honest, I've got the MVP bundle pre-ordered day one. So I'll have access to the Deluxe Edition for College Football 25 as well as Madden 25. And then I went ahead and bought the Walmart pre-order version, which was the Steelbook. So we'll never open up that standard edition. It'll be a collector's item, but being that this is the first time this game's been back in 11 years, I'm pretty excited. So I'll at least put it on the shelf. I'll have it in the future. And if I do get lucky enough, and if I do have to spend a couple $100 to have the game even as early as tomorrow night, so be it. I'm going to do it. It's going to be worth it for you, the audience, to get access to someone who actually has the final version of the game, as opposed to looking at Good Game Bro, looking at Not the Expert, and Drew and those guys who played an early release of the game in May. They went in there to EA when they had that event. It was great that EA gave them a chance to play the game for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, and then they had to listen to a 2-hour presentation. But that's an early version of the game. If you watched any of those videos today, you're going to see that the ratings were not correct. The team ratings were not correct. There are some players that didn't even make the final version of the game at that point in time who hadn't signed their NIL deals. I've seen a later version of the game, so things have changed. Expect a day one patch for sure. That will be coming. Don't know what it's all going to involve, though. We've got to be patient. EA will release a statement, I'm sure, probably by next Thursday, and let you know what's going to be on the release patch. But this game is going to be totally different than what we've already seen. There's going to be some tweaking and all that. But anyway, with all that being said, make sure if you guys enjoy these videos, if you enjoy the live stream, that you're hitting like and subscribe. Comment down below. Jump in the chat. This is my first time doing this. Usually I just post videos, but being I'm going to start streaming next week, I want to jump in here and maybe get something out, some kind of content, and see where the audience is at. I see Eric has sent a message. Do you have any tips with starting an online dynasty with friends? Should top teams be off limits, or should everyone just pick who they want? Here's where I'm at with that, Eric. I've got we're going to have an in-person draft, me and my buddies. And it's going to be right now. We haven't finalized the number. Currently, we have 12 guys. We're going with anyone. And we're going to do it just like if you were doing a fantasy football draft. So I have stickers and everything. We've got ping pong balls. We're going to pull them out just like it was an NBA draft. And we're going to go out. Now, what we're doing as far as limitations are concerned, though, if we do have 12 teams, we're going to play in the 4 power conferences. So we'll be in the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big East, and the SEC. And we're going to limit each of those conferences to only 3 teams. So say, for instance, that Georgia, Alabama, and Missouri go on the top 7 picks. Once Missouri comes off the board as the 3rd SEC team, that conference is closed down, and you've got to look at options in the other conferences. We're trying to keep a competitive balance in the dynasty. We don't want, 8 teams from the SEC and 2 from the Big Ten or whatever, mismatched numbers. So we don't want to go more than that. But do whatever you want. I mean, I'm going to do a 1-star dynasty. I've played and participated in dynasties in the past where it was non-top 25 teams. If you do something like that, I would honestly tell you to consider teams like Missouri, which are a legit top 10 team that EA has severely underrated. I would look at Tennessee. They're also a team who is a consensus top 15 pick, at least according to Athlon Sports, Lindy Sports, Phil Still's Preview Magazine. Maybe even the University of Louisville. I'm a huge Louisville fan. But like one of my buddies was giving me a day, he's like, I'm going to show you how to be loyal. You need to go after and select your own team. I'm like, I've got 9 other guys in my dynasty that are Louisville fans. Let one of them take Louisville. I'm taking the Ohio State University. That's my second team. I'm in this thing to win it. My fandom goes out the window once we're sitting there playing for money, because our seasons are going to be for $20 a season. And the winner's going to take the majority of that cut. So I'm trying to make some money. But yeah, I mean, just do whatever you want. Enjoy it. You guys can make any house rules you want. It should be fun no matter what. If you go with any and every team, if you cut it down and say we're just going to use 1 or 2 star teams, those can be pretty fun. Trying to it's hard to say rebuild. That's kind of the slogan everyone uses, kind of rebuild. But to build a team up from the ground up, like for instance, a Kennesaw State, a James Madison, Charlotte, those teams that weren't in the game in the past, trying to make them and transform into a premier program, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be about money. We've been doing this thing for years, so it's going to be pretty good. But let's get into this slide. We're going to talk about the ratings on the game. Now, EA, for whatever reason, has a love fest with Colorado and all things Colorado. Phil Steele has the University of Colorado rated number 13 out of 16 teams in the Big 12, probably in the 60s or 70s nationally. And sure enough, EA Sports has Colorado at number 16. You see Shadur Sanders is at the top of the list. He's the 17th ranked overall player, but he's 93 overall with 80 speed. His awareness is 98. I know that the Twitterverse was going nuts when they saw his 98 overall rating yesterday. And simply because, I mean, this dude took 52 sacks last year. And they're screaming like, if this guy was so aware, why in the heck he take 52 sacks? Well, he took 52 sacks because that O-line of Colorado is terrible. That's why he took 52 sacks. And he's sitting there trying to make chicken salad out of chicken, you know what, and did the best he could. You know, so, yeah, they went 4-8. They're going to improve on last year's record. I don't see them winning the Big 12. I mean, it's a lot of parity in the Big 12 this year. You know, from Utah to Arizona to Kansas to Oklahoma State, Kansas State. I mean, there is 5 teams right there I just named that any one of those 5 teams could win the Big 12 championship this year. Yeah, Colorado's going to probably win 8 games, but they're going to take their lumps again this year. Second on this list of quarterbacks, Carson Beck. You know, he's won a couple national championships. He's a 93 overall. What I wish that I saw on here, he's got 96 awareness, which that's pretty good. But when you're controlling a quarterback, that kind of goes out the window. I would have liked to see him throwing power and throwing accuracy, you know, even if it's mid, short, deep accuracy. But, you know, right now he's a 93 overall and the second best quarterback. Quinn Ewers, if you're running a dynasty and you're looking for someone right off the bat, I'm thinking Texas. And just because when you have a quarterback, and almost all the quarterbacks are all going to have, you know, the ability to hot route and playmaker and stuff like that. But it's the ability to have that composure and have that field general attribute right away. That when you're playing in a hostile environment like at, you know, Texas A&M, that he's going to be able to keep his composure, call the audibles to his teammates, and stay the course and be steady. You know, and that's what you're looking for. You know, as opposed to taking a team like a Tennessee that has a redshirt freshman quarterback who still could get rattled. You know, having a Quinn Ewers is a great choice. You see Dylan Gabriel, Oregon in the Big Ten this year, their inaugural season. He's a 92 overall, great pick. I mean, he's transferred from Central Florida, which we played him. We played Central Florida. University of Louisville did a couple years ago, went down to the bounce house, and then he transferred to Oklahoma. And now, you know, he's a paid assassin. He's going to be quarterback and at the helm at Oregon this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens and how, you know, well they do this year. I know Ohio State goes to Eugene this year and plays on October 12th. That's going to be their introduction to Big Ten football. I mean, yeah, Oregon has played Big Ten teams before, and they played Ohio State, I think, last year or 2 years ago. But when you're playing that schedule and you're playing that level of competition week in and week out, that's where injuries and fatigue and the like can happen. So that'll be, you know, pretty cool to see how they integrate into the new Big Ten. You know, them, USC, obviously Washington, and UCLA. UCLA is interesting. I know a lot of people haven't, you know, talked to them. Yeah, they're down. Don't get it twisted. I mean, there's a reason why Chip Kelly left and went to Ohio State to call plays. But when you have Eric Bieniemy coming in to be the OC at UCLA, I'm really intrigued to see, does UCLA get Kansas City Chiefs playbook? Are they going to get the Washington Commanders playbook? I mean, that's a legit playbook that a lot of people have just used in Madden. So, you know, UCLA, even though you might not want to use them, you might want to check into that kind of West Coast playbook And just see, hey, is this really the Kansas City Chiefs playbook or is this the Commanders playbook? Because there's a lot of good elements within that playbook, and it's going to be rough. I mean, we've got 134 unique playbooks this year. And to go through all those playbooks and try to figure out what's going to work best for you, if you can get a head start and have some kind of idea that some of these teams are going to have a playbook that you might have used in the past, you're going to have a leg up on the competition. If you know that I can get in there and I can run gun bunch and here's who has those tools. And then of course, you add in some speed option elements and stuff like that. Hey, let's go. Talking about speed option and a quarterback that can flat out run, Jalen Milroe is ranked number 71 out of the top 100. He's a 90 overall with 91 speed. This dude gets in the open field and it's curtains. I mean, watching some of these videos, I was watching a video tonight of some gameplay between Alabama and LSU, and a running back from Alabama, I think is a running back or receiver. I don't know if it was a reverse. I just call it like the play after it already started, but he hits the edge and he just flat out outruns everybody to the corner and goes about 70 or 80 yards to the house. If you watched the gameplay the other day of, with Bordeaux playing against Donovan Edwards in Michigan, Edwards just killed him. I mean, with his juke moves, if you have any kind of stick skills, you're going to be in a severe advantage over your competition, especially if you have a decent enough running back. And we'll get to them in a minute. One guy that I'm looking at, 90 overall is Jackson Dart at Ole Miss, 93 awareness. He might be the best pure passer on this game. So I'll be intrigued to see, what you do, especially that offense they run down there. Lane Kiffin, he's had a lot of turnover with that roster. I mean, they're a legit, should be top 5 team, at least according to all the preseason polls. And I think EA has them ranked 13, 14, 15, somewhere in that range. And I know they've got to play, the gauntlet in the SEC. But that's they've got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I mean, and you got Beck, you've got Milroe, you've got Jackson Dart. I mean, week in and week out, there's top-notch quarterbacks throughout that whole conference in the SEC. So there's a reason why when you go into Dynasty and you start recruiting, they have a badge. I mean, one of the 20 things that you have at your disposal, if you're an SEC team, is you've got that. A lot of guys just say in the South, I want to play in the SEC. So use that to your advantage when you go into Dynasty mode and you're recruiting. Next up is Jalen Daniels, quarterback, 79th overall, 79 out of 100. He's a 90 overall. He does have 88 speed and 90 acceleration. So he's not as fast as Milroe, but he's in that ballpark, especially that 93 awareness. And then buddy, if you're playing in a dynasty and you're going to be playing with smaller schools, 1, 2, even 3-star programs, I don't know where Liberty is going to fall at on the map. I'm thinking they're probably going to be a 2-star. This is a team last year that went 13-0 and went to the Fiesta Bowl and played against Oregon. Now, they got smacked in the bowl game. Guys, they're totally outmatched. They were overmatched. But it's a big accomplishment for a school like Liberty to go undefeated. They haven't been playing big-name football for more than 10 years. And you've got Caden Salter at quarterback, and this guy is a 90 overall with 87 speed, 92 acceleration. He ran for 1,200 yards last year. Not only that, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to flip this page. Not only he run for 1,200, but if you sit here and you look, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go to this last page, and you look at the top 100 running back, which is Quentin Cooley. He's also a 90 overall with 88 speed. He's just a little bit slower. They call him the bowling ball at Liberty. You've got a backfield that ran for 2,500 yards last year at Liberty. And the guy, Salter, has a decent enough arm to throw the ball as well as scramble. He's a true dual threat quarterback. And if you do get the opportunity to play with someone who's non-top 25 and you want to play an easier schedule, because they should dominate. They should absolutely dominate Conference USA. Now, they have a matchup against like Appalachian State interconference, but they also play Western Kentucky, which gave them fits last year. But, Liberty, at the end of the day, won the game. There's not a whole lot to be, concerned about playing that Liberty schedule. So you've got 2 guys in the top 100. You ought to be able to dominate that conference. At running back, no matter what you think about him personally, and, Ollie Gordon is number 3 overall, 96 overall ranking, 90 speed, 97 acceleration, 97 awareness. So even if you don't have the best of stick skills, the computer is still going to take over sometimes and do a little juke or hesitation, break tackle for you, being that he has a 97 awareness. At number 2 on this list at running back, number 9 overall at the top 100, 95 overall is Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State, transfer from Ole Miss. You know, there was a lot of people who were under the impression that Travion Henderson was not going to be on the game because they kept seeing all the videos from the early release that had Judkins. Guys, they can only show one running back at a time, and they actually used the guy that, you know, was a 95 overall and was higher rated, at least at that time. And I believe that Henderson hadn't signed his NIL package yet with College Football 25. So he's now, and Judkins was on the cover, but now I think Henderson's also an ambassador. So that's why. I mean, don't be concerned. Ohio State has 2 of the top 4 running backs on the game. I mean, they are a cheat code. I believe they have 8 of the top 50 players in the top 100 on this game. So Ohio State is absolutely loaded. Now, someone that probably doesn't get as much recognition, maybe people don't know about, is Omarion Hampton at North Carolina, 93 overall, 91 speed, 95 acceleration, 95 awareness. Between him and Jaden Ott, both those guys are going to put up a lot of yards rushing the ball this year in the ACC. You know, North Carolina might struggle a little bit, but they do have a running back and a workhorse, and Hampton will probably be a workhorse. You know, as many carries as he had last year, he'll probably have a little bit extra bonus so that wear and tear doesn't impact him as much as the regular player does. So I would love to sit here and maybe use them as well. Henderson, I've already alluded to. Jaden Ott's 93 overall. Taj Brooks is another good, intriguing player in the Big 12. Devin Neal, I really like Kansas. They're a top 20 team. They have one of these best players. Absolute beast, though, is Ashton Gianti at Boise. And then you add into the mix that, you know, Boise just brought in a transfer quarterback from USC who's probably going to be the day one starter as a redshirt freshman. They're hands down the favorite to win the Mountain West. I believe they're also going to be probably the favorite of the group of 5 teams to go to the playoffs. I mean, you've got Boise, Liberty, Appalachian State. Boise's more likely going to go 11-1 in the regular season. They're going to lose to Oregon, but as long as they play them competitive, I still think they're going to be the highest rated team from the group of 5. Next on this list is Donovan Edwards. Everyone saw him just, we witnessed a murder. Watching Bordeaux the other day play Michigan and then, you know, using Penn State. He absolutely got killed by Donovan Edwards. I mean, between the stick skills, that guy juking all over the place, hesitations, and stiff arm, Donovan Edwards was a flat out nightmare to try to control. Nick Singleton's on this list. Damian Martinez from Miami actually made the cut. He's a top 75 player. RJ Harvey at UCF with 92 speed, 92 acceleration, 93 awareness. He's an intriguing guy, and anyone who's using a Big 12 Dynasty and wants to use Central Florida, because you're going to have that Florida pipeline, at least the Central Florida pipeline. Now, this year they've broken down Florida. You have North Florida, Central Florida, and South Florida. So they all have their unique characteristics. But, yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. You see Quentin Cooley on this list. I've already kind of alluded to him. At receiver, at least, we did not get a 99 overall player. And everyone kind of was concerned it was going to be Travis Hunter because he is a dual threat. He plays wide receiver and corner for Colorado. We haven't seen his ratings yet, though, on the defensive backside, so he could be rated even higher. I mean, the guy is an absolute monster as long as he stays healthy. He makes plays all over the field. But who I really like of this bunch is Luther Burden. Watching Missouri, doing some of my deep dives, and was talking about teams that you can use for your dynasties. Both Luther Burden and then T-Mac McMillan at Arizona. Those guys are beast at receiver, and Burden especially with 94 speed on this game, 95 awareness. T-Mac has 96 jump, so he does bring a little bit more of a Randy Moss factor. He's a bigger receiver that can go up and moss on people. We'll see how that checks out. We also have Igbuka and Torrey Horton. Colorado State has a guy. As far as receiver, you got Tez Johnson and Evan Stewart at Oregon, Trey Harris, Ole Miss, and then Restrepo from Miami. Adam, I'm reading your messages, buddy. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do a slow rebuild, all this doesn't matter. What I'm doing is I'm just reacting to the top 100 player list that EA put out yesterday. I've been getting a lot of messages like, Fairdale, you haven't even talked about it. You've messed with rosters, because I actually put in all the names for 12 years. This what I specialized in, was doing depth chart reveals, putting players' names on the game, breaking down rosters. So yeah, I mean, I kind of focused on this. But yeah, I mean, if you're playing a dynasty, after year one, all this is going to go away. You're going to start bringing in guys that you recruit that are going to be generic players, so it doesn't matter. But a lot of guys are worried about this because they're going to be playing head-to-head games. They want to know who the best players are. So, I mean, I'm interested in it. I do know that some of this is all going to go by the wayside. Once you start getting dynasty and adding abilities, and if you're a good coach and have the ability for your guys to progress, these ratings are going to go even higher for the guys who are redshirt sophomores and juniors. So, yeah, I mean, there's some good information here. I know that EA's done a really good job. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 players that didn't make this top 100 cut that I'm legitimately concerned about. I mean, I've gone through this list and I looked at Phil Steele, Athlon Sports, and Lindy's. I compared the first, second, third, and fourth team All-Americans list by all 3 of those periodicals. And pretty much this list is spot on. I mean, and I think maybe EA was lazy and just said, you know what, we're just going to look and let all those publications do the top 5, top 10 player positions for us, and we'll just put the guys on the All-American list as our top players. Hey, salute to you. I mean, at least you guys got it right this time. Almost every player who is somebody is on this list. At tight end, best players, Colston Loveland at Michigan. Not going to go too much in this. I mean, he's an 87 overall. No, Gadsden at Syracuse has 88 speed. On the O-line, LSU, and one of my buddies is a huge LSU fan, so he was super excited to see they had number 2 overall player, Will Campbell, 96 overall left tackle. Oregon was one of those teams. They have a guy at offensive tackle who's first team All-American. Athlon had a second team All-American. He didn't make the top 100. I'm sure he's going to be about 89, 88 overall. So Oregon's going to have 2 tackles that are phenomenal, because Connerly's second team All-American. He's a 95, top 95 player, 90 overall. The other guy at Oregon, he's got to be an 89, 88 overall. So they've got a solid O-line. Clay Webb's the best left guard, the kid from Jacksonville State, which I actually get to see Jacksonville State. They come here to the University of Louisville this year and play in Cardinal Stadium. So I'll get to see him, and he's highly ranked, will be an NFL draft choice next year. So I'll get to see him in person. I'm excited about that. The rest of these guys on O-line, which you can kind of look at them. I mean, I just added these guys late. You see Arizona has a guy on here, right tackle. But then a little bit of controversy kind of creeps in. Jack Sawyer, left end for Ohio State's 92 overall. But man, where's JT? Where's JT Tuimoloau? I mean, he's a right end, but he's not in the top 100, and that guy's consensus first team All-American. So he's one of the guys that are missing on this list. I'm super excited as a Louisville fan that Ashton Gelati is a 90 overall. I thought he might be a 93, but kind of looking at where they're at, Sawyer's a 92. So the fact that Gelati's the 3rd best left end, he's an absolute play wrecker in the backfield. We at least have 2 guys at the University of Louisville in the top 100. Super excited about that. As you continue, you're going to look at the right ends. When I saw some of the ratings come out and some of these sites and guys were putting out what they were saying was leaked information, and I saw that James Pierce was like a 92 overall. I said, there's no way that this list can be accurate. And if it is accurate, that explains why Tennessee is not rated in the top 25. But now that the list came out, James Pierce is the number 1 right end, number 4 overall player on the game, 95 overall, 88 speed. All those lists that guy was putting out is all BS. None of that information matched up to anything, any of the ratings that came out. He was in the ballpark, but hell, I could sit there and just guess and throw darts at the board and just give you guys speculation. None of that was real. So all those leaks that we saw in the past week was all BS. Let me go back real quick. So we also had, for my Kentucky fan there, we had Deion Walker from UK, who's a 93 overall. That's very, very interesting that we have, him listed on there at that for sure. Now, going back to defensive tackles, and this might be why Bordeaux just got smashed. I mean, you couldn't run up the middle. When you got Mason Graham and King Grant at defensive tackle, Michigan has 2 of the top 5 defensive tackles on the game. Wow. Adam said, which team has the best uniforms? That's all subjective. I mean, I have a different like. I mean, if you like Oregon, they've got a closet full of uniforms. I like some of the traditional looks. I mean, I like the Ohio State. I like Michigan's traditional helmet. They don't change much. Penn State don't change much. I get excited when I see Nebraska and that traditional look that they have. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of schools that have, a lot of different options for uniform. Memphis is one. I know they've got 8 different uniform combinations. Tulane has a bunch of nice looking uniforms. Coastal Carolina not only has nice looking uniforms, they also have that teal field. So you get that combination of nice color, and then also, like boys with blue field, they've got the teal field at Coastal Carolina. Continue down this path. Left outside linebacker, Michael Williams is top 20 player. Middle linebacker, and Iowa, good God. When you sit here and you look, Iowa has the best middle linebacker on the game, and then also have the 3rd best right outside linebacker. Barrett Carter's also rated for Clemson, top 15 player. I mean, that guy was lucky to be on the 3rd team All-American, yet he's a top 15 player. Kind of explains why Clemson's the number 6 team on the game. And then when you look at, I want to back this up. When you look at corner, Will Johnson at Michigan is the number 1 overall rated player, 96 overall, 92 speed, 95 acceleration. Wow. So you've got 2 great defensive linemen or defensive tackles at Michigan and also a lockdown corner. I see Bobo Davis from Arizona is on this list. He's the 92 overall. University of Louisville, we have Quincy Riley, 92 speed, 96 acceleration. Him and Ben Morrison at Notre Dame are going to be 2 of the best defenders, at least for some of the faster players if you use teams like that. I'm wearing my Ohio State swag right now. I know Denzel Burke's uncle. He worked with me. That he's originally from Phoenix, Scottsdale, somewhere like that. So I've known about Denzel Burke since he was a freshman at Ohio State, and they told me he was going to be, a nice player. And sure enough, he was all Big Ten as a freshman, and he was banged up a little bit last year. So as long as he stays healthy, he'll be a day 1 selection in the NFL draft. Denzel Burke is an absolute monster at corner, and I'm privileged to know his family. His cousin's going to be a track star at Arizona this year as a freshman, so that family is very talented. But I'm also, my father's from Panama, Denzel's family's from Panama, so there's also a connection there. So that's why I'm very excited that he's repping Panama and playing, at the Ohio State University. So I'm applaud him for that. You see Kansas has Kobe Bryant. UK has Maxwell Hairston, top one of the top corners on the game. And then Ohio State again. Caleb Downs, man. Caleb Downs is an absolute monster. Hey, you want that Ohio State shirt? I've got 84 of these shirts, man. All different programs. The only two Power 5 teams I'm missing is UCLA and TCU. So UCLA is signed a deal with Jordan Brand. So they don't put out any champion t-shirts. So I don't have any UCLA swag. I did just purchase a UCLA t-shirt from their campus bookstore. I don't know if I'm ever going to get it, though, because it looks like it's now sold out, so they might be canceling my order. And then TCU, I'm trying to get a hold of some TCU swag. We'll see how it shakes out, but it's nice. I mean, I like all these T-shirts I bought from Fanatics. The Champion Stack shirts, pretty nice material. So I'll wear these throughout the year during my reactions and live streams and whatnot. You see strong safeties. Nothing really jumps off the screen. I mean, you've got 5 strong safeties are rated 90 overall or higher. As far as players missing from this list, Ricky White is a wideout from UNLV. He's a consensus first, second, or third team All-American. I'm going to say more towards second and third team All-American. He's not rated as one of the top 10 receivers on the game, which is kind of intriguing because they do have, let me see, they do have Torrey Horton from Colorado State in the top 50, but White put up better numbers and actually is a better draft prospect. And then here's the guy I was alluding to earlier. JT is a first-team consensus All-American, and he's not a top 100 player. So is he an 89 overall? I mean, yeah, Ohio State is stacked. Don't get me wrong. But it'd be nice if this guy was rated in the top 50, which is probably where he belongs. It is what it is. I mean, we'll find out soon enough as soon as the as soon as this game comes out. What do you say? What's the most silly team name mascot you can think of? Silly? I don't know about silly. I mean, I like UTSA, Texas San Antonio Roadrunners, with that blue and orange uniforms and combination. They have a smaller stadium. You have Texas as a pipeline. I like the Roadrunners. I'm sitting there trying to think, is there really any silly names? In D1, not really. I mean, when you get to D2 and FBS, I mean, there's some outlandish things with some of those teams, but as far as D1, I can't, nothing just jumps off the top of my head. I have to think about that. I know there's a bunch of Owls in conference. Is it Conference USA or something? I mean, you've got Rice Owls, Florida Atlantic Owls, and Kennesaw State Owls, Temple Owls. I mean, there's 4 Owls now in D1 football. It's like, where in the heck did all the Owls come from? 3 in one conference. Duke Blue Devils, Arizona State Sun Devils, either one of them. I don't think they're really silly, but I do. The Hilltoppers, the Hilltopper Big Red for West Kentucky is like the Red Grimace. And this year on October 30th, I'm actually going to go attend the game between Kennesaw State at Western Kentucky. So I'm going to welcome Kennesaw State to D1. I've sent a couple players to Western Kentucky over the years. I was a high school football coach for 20 years. One of my good buddies in high school actually went to Western and played. And an interesting story, when I was coming out of high school, I was actually going to go to Western Kentucky and play football. But there was some discussion they were actually going to shut the doors at Western. They weren't really making any money and profiting from football. So there were some rumors that they might be shutting down. So instead of going to a school at that time that I didn't know if they were still going to be around 4 years from now, whenever I was going to graduate, I instead went to University of Louisville to play football before I tore up my knee. But yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of guys at Western that I've sent over the years to play football down there, and one of the players actually, Jeremy Johnson from Louisville Ballard High School. He attended IU, Indiana University, for 3 years and played for Cam Cameron. Quarterback at that time was Antoine Randall L. So he used to run the option and stuff like that. It was a really exciting team to watch. And Jeremy was a fullback for him. Played some tailback, but Jeremy was 6 foot tall, 5'11", probably 6 is a stretch, 300 pounds, and ran a 4.6, 4.5 40. I mean, the guy was an absolute beast at that time. Could flat get it. So he goes to IU, and we had 5 guys from Ballard High School on IU's roster, and they fired. I think Cameron went to the NFL, and they brought in Jerry DiNardo, who had left LSU, and DiNardo came in and got rid of what they called the Louisville Mafia. And he made, I guess, made an example of Jeremy because he had missed a treatment. He had tweaked his ACL, was supposed to go see the doctor, and his car was broke down, so he missed going to the doctor. And they suspended him. Well, he said, I'm not staying around here. You know, you're trying to make an example because the 5 Louisville players are the 5 best players you have, and we're actually the ones who run this team and run the culture. And DiNardo wanted to let him know that he ran the team. So when he suspended Jeremy transferred to Western Kentucky. He could have went anywhere in the country, but he didn't want to sit out a year. Back then, in 2002, if you transferred, it wasn't like the transfer portal now. You had to sit out a year. So Jeremy could have went to any D1 school he wanted to, elected to go to Western Kentucky, led them to a national championship. He played for Jack Harbaugh, who was the head coach. Jack Harbaugh is the father of John and Jim Harbaugh, who, you know, Jim was the head coach at Michigan, now the head coach of the LA Chargers, and John obviously is the head coach of the Ravens. But my buddy, kid I coached, Jeremy Johnson, played for Jack Harbaugh at Western Kentucky, and they won a national championship in 2002. So University of Louisville has a lot of ties. I mean, Jeff Brom was an assistant coach and then became the head coach at Western. He was assistant for Petrino when he was down there and was his OC. Then Jeff Brom became the head coach. Then he took the Purdue job, and now he's at the University of Louisville. So, you know, even though we compete against each other, Western Kentucky is like a little brother, and I say that with the most affection. So I do enjoy Western for sure. Red shirts typically in real life anyway, you're allowed to play 4 games, at least in football. So if you red shirt, you can play up to 4 games and not lose your red shirt. So in my case, though, at that time, I was not going to make the final roster so I was going to be red shirted. I wasn't very big. I was 5'10", 185 pounds. So it was in my best interest to actually lift weights, to get bigger, stronger, faster, get acclimated to the game, get caught up with the speed of the game. But yeah, I mean, you go to practices, you participate in practice, you're just not, not going to play, not going to be on the travel squad. That's the other thing. You know, when you travel D1 football, in real life, they only take 60 when they travel. Even though it's an 85-man roster, for home games, all 85 players dress. But when you go on the road, you only take 60 players, 65 players with you on the road. So it's first team, second team, some backups, and special team players. But you stay at the college. You stay in the dorm. So, like, for instance, at University of Louisville, there's a dorm that's just specifically for the football players. We also have a basketball-only dorm to keep them separated from all the other students, you know. So some other schools actually have them integrated. But yeah, I mean, the football players, basketball players, baseball players, they live in the dorm. They live on campus. They're also fed 3 times a day. They go to what we call the training table. We'll have breakfast, lunch, and dinner on campus as a college football player. We also had tutors. That was one of the best things, you know, and, so there's a ton of advantage. For me personally, I get super aggravated with NIL. There's so many guys who don't go to the NFL. You know, this is for the 1% of the 1% who actually go to the NFL. And the schools are giving them a platform for them to showcase their talent, their ability. But for the other 99% of the players, 99.9% of the players, you're there to go to school for your education. You're receiving anywhere from a $20,000 to $40,000 education per year for free as a scholarship athlete. And it's not just that education that you receive, but it's the relationships that you make. It's the friendships that you make, but it's also the inroads that you make with current boosters of that school. For instance, I'll give you a prime example. Luke Hancock played on the 2013 national championship team here at University of Louisville in basketball. And Luke was not good enough to play in the NBA, even though he got tryouts. At the end of the day, he did not continue his basketball career and play professionally. But he was able, because of his college education, because of the fact that he graduated from the University of Louisville, he was able to, day one after he retired from basketball, to go get a job as a financial analyst. And there's probably several other people that are more highly qualified for that position. But because of his relationship and being that he played basketball at the University of Louisville, he had access to a door that other people, normal students, would not have. And he's been able to take that relationship, have a nice, steady job, great income, but also now he's been able to take those business partnerships and people that he's grown to know, relationships over the years. Now he's also working in the media. He's an announcer with the ESPN ACC network. So once a week during basketball season, he's, either broadcasting remotely from here in Louisville at the studio, or he's down in North Carolina. So that's why I just get aggravated with NIL. These guys are getting a free food, 3 square meals a day. They pay for your education. You're getting free residence, as far as living in the dorms. You also get a stipend, which most people don't know, that these guys do get spending cash. They also, my brother was also an athletic trainer for University of Louisville. So, he got all the bells and whistles as far as a scholarship, got to live on campus. Now he treated the athletes and wrapped their ankles and taped them and, put them in the whirlpool and stuff like that. But he also had access to all the free tutors and everything else. So there's so many different perks and benefits to being a student athlete or someone who's in sports medicine or who's working around athletes. And, more than enough pays for itself. But right now, these guys are just getting paid to play football, and it's gross to me. It is what it is. I mean, it's what we're doing. But, I know that I've been part of a collective that has paid people not to come and visit a school, oddly enough. So, guys are making $1 million just not to go visit school X, Y, and Z. Who cares that, it's supposed to be for name, image, and likeness, and what the reason NIL was made was so these guys would actually get paid for their likeness and they can go sign autographs and make appearances and get paid for it. But it's not what it is, man. It's a travesty. The same, situation we have, this is not going to be able to be something we're going to be able to keep doing. I mean, the schools are now going to be paying NIL. I think that's what they're trending toward. We'll see how that all shakes out. But they need to put like a salary cap like the NFL if they're going to continue it. Because, for instance, the University of Louisville, we just hired a new coach and we had like $6 million at our disposal for NIL. We're paying players $2 million a year to come play here for 1 year. Come on, man. That's not sustainable. FedEx is paying Memphis $5 million a year for NIL. So they can get the best players in the country in football and basketball. So that's my, I got up here on my platform and complained about it, but that's enough. I mean, thank God NIL is not actually in this game. It's in Road to Glory in some form and fashion. I mean, if you go play Road to Glory, you're going to have some deals and packages and stuff. We saw that video today, and it's intriguing. I mean, there's some benefits in the video game in Road to Glory that if you sign an NIL deal that, if you get a partnership with like physical therapy, you go make your appearance for physical therapy or whatever, which, you're not going to take pictures and actually in the game or anything like that, but that's what your role is. And next thing you know, you're going to sit there and it's also going to benefit you. You're going to be able to take whatever you're doing with physical therapy and then go play, use that as a tool. So your wear and tear isn't going to be as impacted, So because you're doing physical therapy, they're giving you free therapy sessions, which that's cool. In this game, if they're going to do something like that and it's going to be beneficial, hey, I'm all for it. I mean, if they're going to give you that that element and you can use that as something in your tool belt, why not do it? And I'm all right with that. But I'm glad it didn't make it into Dynasty mode. They have what they're calling branding. And it just means that, with the branding and that is if your games are in primetime slots. So like in Dynasty mode right now, if you're playing a game on a Saturday night or, it's on national television, we don't have ESPN this year on the game for the first time in like 7 years. But, they're still going to have what they're going to call national broadcast. And if your team's playing enough national broadcast, that's going to impact your branding and it helps your school. So that's another tool at your disposal when you're going through and you're recruiting. And it's really going to help the larger teams in the larger markets, so it kind of helps the elite teams stay elite. And that's what I was hoping for. Now, to go off on another tangent, today I was watching Not the Experts video. He was able to get some video from EA Sports. He was one of the guys that went down in mid-May and got to play the game early, and they actually let him video some of that content, and that's awesome. So he was able to play with Kennesaw State in the Dynasty. And in year one, if guys don't know, and a lot of you guys are maybe new to this game, new to college football, Kennesaw State University just started playing football in 2015. Okay, so they started at one of the lower levels. If you're from the UK or something, you understand, they've got tiers in soccer and relegation and all that. Well, say that Kennesaw State would start in the second division, okay? They won that second division. They won the championship in the Big South Conference a couple times, which built momentum for them. They're from one of the larger metro areas in this country, in Atlanta, so they have a great recruiting base in Atlanta. So they jumped to a larger conference, and they competed and did really well in that conference. Well, Kennesaw State and their athletic program and the school itself has higher, aspirations. They want to be a part of big-time college football. So they agreed to transition. Last year, they only played 9 games. They redshirted a quarter, if not a half of their roster. Redshirting meaning those guys all sat out last year. They played 4 games. They got bigger, stronger. They still attended university, still attended college. So they were getting their education, but they were getting ready for this year. This is their first year on the big stage. So Kennesaw State joined Conference USA, which is a lower level conference, but it's still D1. And this is their inaugural year. They don't have all the resources of all Big Net football, but Kennesaw State does have a 10,000 seat stadium, which is the smallest in D1 football. So they don't have a large following. They play at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. So they're the worst. Okay, let me say it. They are the worst team on EA Sports College Football 25. They're ranked number 134. They're at the bottom. So Drew played his dynasty today. Goes through the video, goes through the season. He's showing everyone how to recruit. You see that he's got huge disadvantages trying to recruit against Georgia, which is in his backyard in the same state, against Ohio State, against Alabama, against the top-notch teams. Well, he ends up recruiting a kid from fictional, from Louisville, Kentucky, which is my home city. So I was intrigued by it to see, anytime Louisville's mentioned, it's like, wait, we don't get a lot of recognition. Even though we're a top 20 metro area, Louisville is not recognized. We don't have pro teams, so a lot of people think that we're just hicks from, we're hillbillies and stuff. And it's actually a pretty large, metro area, over 1 million people here in Louisville, Kentucky. But we focus a lot on University of Louisville and University of Kentucky sports. College sports is what we have. We don't have pro teams. But anyway, so this guy is recruiting a 5-star quarterback from Louisville, Kentucky. No other big name programs are recruiting the same kid. And it's weird. It's like in football or in anything, a 5-star, there's only 30 of them every year. 25 to 35 stars. There's very limited. They're the best of the best. They're projected to be the most best athletes ever. Elite of the elite. Now, there's always bust and guys don't play that good, but they're not, everyone's going after them. Everybody. Without a doubt. And we go through this recruiting cycle today watching this video, and Drew signs this 5-star. And not only does he sign the 5-star, which is incredible, but he signed this 5-star by week 5, week 6, week 7 of the season. It's like, what the hell? If this guy put in work and he recruited this guy for 15 weeks, including the preseason, he goes through the bowl season, and then he signs him in the offseason because of all the work that he put in. Okay, I don't want to give you a pass. It's a video game. All right. But for Drew to go into that game and 5 weeks, 6 weeks in, he signs a 5-star player? Give me a break. And it's not just that one example. It's the fact that Kennesaw State, which is the worst team out of 134, they ought to be 170 out of 134. But they signed 4 4-star athletes. So they signed 5 guys that were 4-star or better. And on the flip side of this, just that you have some background, in reality, in real life, UTEP had the #1 recruiting class in the same conference this year, in Conference USA. Okay, so I'm comparing video game to real life. So in real life, Texas El Paso, which is UTEP, had the number 83 recruiting class in the nation out of 134. 83. And they were the best of Conference USA. And they did not sign 1 5-star. They did not even sign 1 4-star. They signed 22 3-stars and then a handful of 2-star players. Teams on that level, 1 and 2-star programs, never, ever, ever sign a 5-star player. It's impossible. The best example I can give of something like this happening was Travis Hunter, who's the receiver that you saw from Colorado, the 95 overall, the great player that plays both ways. He's a cover athlete. When he came out of high school, he's actually #1 player in the country. And he shocked the world because he did something no one ever does. He signed with an HBCU, which is a historically black college or university. He agreed to go play football at Jackson State University, which the only reason he did that was because Deion Sanders is their head coach. Deion Sanders played D1 football at Florida State and then played in the NFL for years. Hall of Fame corner, maybe the best that's ever done it. So this guy, Travis Hunter, wanted to go play for Deion. If you're going to play for someone, let's play for someone who's been there, who's the best. He's going to be able to give him all the information. He was a little bit of a mentor to him. So, it wasn't totally shocking, but it's still. Usually those guys still go to an elite program like Alabama, Georgia, LSU, The Ohio State, Texas, USC. Good players go to elite programs. They don't ever go to Jackson State. In this situation, they don't ever go to Kennesaw State. That was my problem. EA, in their Dynasty Deep Dive, made it a point when they talked about recruiting that they're going to make sure that the elites stay elite. They went back and did all this homework, looked at 10 years of historical data. We're going to make sure that the good teams stay good. We talked to coaches and we did this and we did that. Really? You put in all that work and you're telling us the game's going to be realistic and it's nothing like NCAA 14, which the problem with NCAA 14 was they decided to go to a point system. And if you're recruiting in NCAA 14 on the old game, all you had to do was throw the max points at a player and you can get whatever player you wanted. It didn't matter if you're a 1-star or 5-star program. In 2 or 3 years of playing that game, you could be a national champion. It didn't matter if you're the worst team in football. If you knew how to recruit and just threw all your max points at players, you got whoever you wanted. And we were told that was no longer the case. Those days are gone. Forget about it. This is going to be much more difficult. We're going to put all these teams on different levels. 5-star programs are going to have 1,000 points to recruit 1,000 hours to recruit every week. 1-star programs to get 350 hours. We're going to make sure that they don't have the same resources. And then what the guy does is he uses the ability that he had hometown. The guy didn't want to go far from home, so proximity to home. But the guy he signed was from Louisville, Kentucky, not Atlanta, Georgia. So yeah, proximity to home, Metro Atlanta. And then he has an ability which allowed him to recruit for 20 bonus hours a week for each player. But my problem is, so say even though he was recruiting 70 hours compared to Georgia recruiting 50 hours, those big teams should have such a huge advantage over Kennesaw State. That was my problem. And you're telling me that Alabama, or better yet, I'll give you a better example. Forget Georgia. Forget even Alabama. You're telling me that Georgia Tech, which is also from Atlanta, who plays in the ACC, who's won a national championship in 1990, who has a proud tradition, one of the few teams that won a national championship, Georgia Tech didn't go after him? What? They weren't even on the list. They weren't even on the list. So, I think maybe, and I didn't want to beat up. Me and some guy was going back and forth on Twitter, and I apologize to him. I wasn't trying to be rude or anything. I was just laying he was making my point for me. And I think he finally conceded. It was like, yeah, you know what, I am. But I was like, I thought they fixed this. It should be stages to this. If you want to rebuild, if you want to build a program, that's what it is. Not even a rebuild. They were never good. So you can't rebuild something that was trash to begin with. If you want to build a program like Kennesaw State up, it should take you 4 or 5 years. You should have to win. You should have to be able to jump from Conference USA up to another conference to then be able to compete at that level, win a championship, and then sign 4- and 5-star athletes. That was my complaint. Maybe there's sliders and they tuned the game where he was able to sign these good players just to show everyone the backdrop of how to recruit. And I understand that. They did that with gameplay. When we watched his first trailer on this game, everyone's complaining because there were so many interceptions and big plays. And it's like, one of the plays in particular, the next thing you know, the cornerback's moving out of the picture while they're running the options. Like, where's he going? I made a video about it. Reaction was like, defense is broke. I don't care if it's a nickelback or not. If they're running the option right at you, a read option, even though you have coverage, if you're looking into the backfield as you're dropping to the flats and you read run coming right at you, you come up. The safeties then invert and roll over top for a double pass or anything like that. You have run responsibility. I don't care if you're in coverage or not. You're not man-to-man, and he wasn't man-to-man. I know I coached football for 20 years. I played pro football. I played college football. I know this. I wasn't great. In the semi-pro and arena league I played in, I was recognized as all conference, was the best player in the league one year. So I do have a little bit of a background there as well. So I'm not speaking out my what. But I watched that video and I got people, EA fanboys. And look, I love EA. I just went to Orlando. Don't tell me I don't love EA. Like, I made rosters for free and gave them away for 12 years. Don't tell me I don't love this game. And I hate when there's so many reactors who come on here and all they do is badmouth this game, who get given a platform to come on here and just badmouth the game, and yet they get access to the game before anyone else. But my point was, I was just calling out and identifying an issue with the game that at that time in May was correctable. EA can go in and fine tune it, and they didn't have to have me tell them that. They know what's wrong with it. They've got beta testers playing this game. If you watch all these videos, you're seeing the guy's username and it says beta on the screen. That is on there to make sure that, no one's releasing videos early. I mean, I have to sign an NDA to go do anything I do. I still can't talk about it. I'm under embargo. So the only thing I can talk about is what I'm seeing live on videos right now. That's the only thing I can tell anyone about. If I see someone else's video, okay, it's free game. If I see and explain what's currently someone else has already released. People are asking me about Teambuilder. I can't tell you a thing about Teambuilder. I wish I could. I thought, and this before I even went, down to Orlando, when all this information came out and Mike Straw did his reaction and stuff, I went and did a Teambuilder video. I pulled out content from 2013 for NCAA Football 14 and showed everyone what Teambuilder looked like 12 years ago. And I assumed, or 11 years ago. And I was telling everyone what to expect. And I legitimately thought the Teambuilder would have been released on July 1st. And here's why. Is because they wanted to give everyone a chance to build their teams, get excited, look at the rosters and all that stuff. But things kind of got delayed due to some Madden glitches and stuff like that took, some of their priority away, and they couldn't release these reaction videos till this week. So it delayed everything. But I thought for sure the Teambuilder was going to be out July 1st because it would build up momentum. People would go in there. You'd have 2 weeks to make sure all your graphics are ready for when the game's released. You can get on there in Teambuilder. You've already built your team. You've got your roster edited and all that and changed. But then I started hearing whispers that Madden is also going to use this Teambuilder platform server for their game. And it seems like it may have impacted Teambuilder for college football 25. And they haven't released it yet. Because in the past, Teambuilder was out. It was always out 2 weeks prior to the game being released. At least 1 week. I think the last game came out on July 9th. Teambuilder was out July 1st. I know because I had a video about Teambuilder. And maybe a day or two later, 2 days later, I actually had my copy of the game because every year for 12 straight years, I had NCAA football early. Regardless of where I got it from. Sometimes I was direct sourced, signing NDAs, and other times I got the game from just my acquaintances and my relationships. But that's where I'm at. I'm super excited for this game. I mean, I've already got a couple dynasties set up. I'm going to probably keep putting out reaction videos. We'll do some tips and strategy. Hopefully I get my son in here with me. He's going to,
help me on this commentary and do stuff. I mean, he plays Madden. He plays Mutt. I'm not just saying it because he's my son, but he's probably a top 150 player in Madden community. He's played against Dubby, Problem. He actually beat Henry, who's the Madden champ. He beat him twice last year. His problem is just, he gets so damn nervous, man, and overreacts, and he just, it's frustrating for me. He abandons the running game. It's like he's in that young generation, and everyone throws the ball, so he thinks he has to follow suit, and he just sometimes doesn't manage the clock well, and it's cost him in some big events. So I'm still trying to train him and break him in and show him, that you got to use running as a crutch, buddy. I mean, there's been some guys over the years in Madden community who just ran the ball and played great defense. Problem's one of them. I mean, that guy, he can move the ball on offense when he has to, but there's a lot of guys that, I think Joke or whatever, the dude plays great defense. I mean, there's some guys that they just don't turn the ball over. They let you make mistakes and they play great defense. And I think college football is going to be much the same way. There's going to be so many guys who have played Madden, especially younger guys, for the last 10 years. And passing has been the meta. I mean, you just throw the ball all over the place. Everyone lines up in bunch trips and throws the ball, corner routes and stuff like that. They're not going to have any clue how to stop the run on this game. And when you start running options and you run read options and you combine that with RPOs, and everyone complained last year about RPOs, buddy, you stretch the field out. It's a numbers game. If you don't have enough hats out there, you throw the damn ball in an RPO. I don't care if you line up in cover two and have a corner out there. He's going to get blocked. I mean, same thing for running the ball. If someone wants to put three in the box, three down linemen and two linebackers, and you've got five guys, a running back, you run quarterback power till the cows come home, until they sit there and switch up the box. So, that's stuff that you have to learn over the years. And you seen like Donovan Edwards playing Bordeaux the other day. He's like, I know all the the counter punches. You know, you come out and you do one thing. I know what I can do to adjust because I've played real football. You know, I'm not just playing a video game. I have some common sense about me and have a football IQ. You know, and those guys are always at an advantage. You have that background to fall back on. It's going to be advantageous to you. You still have to have some skill and whatnot. But other than that, man, I'm super excited. I'm ready for college football to come out. If I do get lucky enough that I get a copy of the game tomorrow, I'll be on here tomorrow night streaming for sure. I don't know how lucky I'll be. I mean, the earliest would probably be now, unless I can pick a copy up myself in person. I probably wouldn't have the game until Saturday if I'm fortunate enough, because that means that someone picked up tomorrow and then they've shipped it to me. So I think that's going to wrap up this session. Just a breakdown on this and some thoughts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. We'll be putting out some more stuff for sure. And let me know. I mean, comment down below. Let me know what you guys are looking for. I'm going to focus primarily on Dynasty, some strategy tips. I'm not the best. I mean, for sure. I mean, I was a top 50 player in NCAA football in the past, won some big championships back in the day, but the game has changed. But I do know how to read defenses and have that offensive knowledge of multiple schemes. So I do know that. I know a lot of stuff as far as, you know, what beats certain stuff. I just sometimes can't go out and execute. You know, that's what happens when you're 50 years old. You lose some of those quick reactions and instincts. I know where to go with the ball. Sometimes I just can't get it there. But other than that, man, hope you guys enjoyed this. We'll be back with some more content in the future. But other than that, Fairdale Kings, and I'm out.